Final practice in Imola and a big moment for Fernando Alonso, which brought out the red flags. The two-time world champion losing the rear of his Aston Martin at Ravazza and hitting the barriers.
Yeah, sorry, red flag. You okay, yeah?
Yeah, all good.
Until then, the Racing Green team had been having a steady weekend. Having brought a few updates to Italy, they were still gathering data, putting in lots of laps on all three compounds in an attempt to understand their new parts. He wasn't the only one to find the gravel or the fencing. Sergio Perez taking too much curb at the chicane, which launched him across the road and into the barriers beyond. Cue another red flag, followed by a lot of jockeying to get one final quick lap in before the end of the session. Kevin Magnussen taking to the grass to get around slower racers, and Oscar Piastri darting around to try and find a possible gap between cars, and Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly dragging it out to the start-finish line with seconds to spare. It was the McLarens with the bragging rights in FP3, Piastri with the best time of the weekend so far, a 1 minute 15.529. Lando Norris was P2, some 3/10 back, but the disrupted session means that it may not be indicative of his true pace. Ferrari's upgrades seem to be paying dividends at the team's first home race of the season. Charles Leclerc topped both Friday practice sessions, and despite gusty conditions and a lack of running in the last 24 months at Imola, both Scuderia drivers have performed well. Final practice saw Carlos Sainz get the better of Leclerc, but only by a couple of hundredths. Mercedes seem to have improved since last time out too. Despite a few off-piste excursions, both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell felt comfortable in the heavily upgraded W15 on Friday. However, the 7-time champion was confused by his lack of pace after a soft-shot run today.
So at the moment it's 2 seconds to Sainz.
Yeah, so that's 2 seconds.
0.8 of it is in straight line.
George Russell was the quicker silver arrow in P5. Both Red Bulls struggled to get to grips with the track on Friday, especially in the middle sector. Verstappen's usual smooth style was stifled by balance issues, which saw the Drivers' Championship leader frequently venturing out of bounds. His RB20 was more compliant today, and his P6 on the mediums proves he can't be ruled out for qualifying, although the lack of a decent run on the softs could prove an issue later today. Alex Albon damaged his Williams in FP1, and both cars were delayed getting out onto the track in FP2, so the Grove team have been playing catch-up. However, P7 for the Thai driver in final practice should buoy the team somewhat. After P11 and P10 finishes in the last 2 Grand Prix, Esteban Ocon came into Emilia Romagna in high spirits. Both he and Alpine teammate Pierre Gasly struggled on Friday. Ocon was the better of the two Frenchmen, P8 for his efforts in FP3. Yuki Tsunoda slotted his V-carb into 3rd spot in FP2, but also had to visit the stewards after performing a practice start in the wrong place. He was another driver not to set a competitive time on the softs, so his P13 should be taken with a pinch of salt. Practice finishes with the McLaren 1-2, Piastri ahead of Norris, then came Sainz, Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, Albon, Ocon, Lance Stroll and Nico Hülkenberg. P11 for Daniel Ricciardo, then came Perez, Tsunoda and Valtteri Bottas. The Flying Finn still holds the track lap record here, set on his way to pole in 2020. Logan Sargent was P15, and he was followed by Magnussen, Hamilton, Alonso, Gasly and Zhou Guanyu.